Now more than ever, we need to really understand how to manage our resources. There is a common understanding about what is money as a resource, but not everybody has the knowledge of what to do with these resources, how to take informed decisions, and mostly how to have healthy behaviors, especially when you are thinking about your future.
As vozes do professor.
أصوات المعلمون.
老師有話兒
Teachers' voices.
Welcome to a new episode of Teachers' Voices, a podcast made from the stories of teachers around the world told in their own words. I'm your host, Nina Alonso, and today we will be talking about something many of us are concerned with, and yet we don't talk about it too much in children's education: understanding how to manage money and other resources wisely. From an individual perspective, financial education helps us manage everyday life, but from the point of view of education's societal impact, providing children with financial education can empower them to make positive changes for a more equitable world. By the end of this episode, I hope you will feel as energized as I was when I discussed these issues with today's special guests. Aflatoun International is a network of organizations and teachers offering social and financial education to millions of children and young people worldwide. So what better way to understand social and financial education than with the insights of Aflatoun's experts and teachers? In this episode, I first talked to Cristina Peña, Aflatoun's program manager for the Americas, and to Chandni Mehta, Aflatoun curriculum specialist. I also hear from teachers implementing Aflatoun's programs in El Salvador and Sri Lanka. I recorded my conversations with Cristina and Chandni while I was camping in the north of Spain. The lovely staff in the camping cafeteria turned off the cafeteria music for me, and my dog Indy was calm and silent, probably guessing that the toast on my table would reward her flawless behavior at some point. Still, there was a bit of background noise, so I apologized to Cristina and Chandni about the interference of the cafeteria sound, but they laughed and said they liked it because it gave the conversation a warm, friendly vibe. I first asked Cristina for Aflatoun's definition of social and financial education.
Financial education refers to teach the skills and attitudes that are necessary to understand money and finance. When you combine this with social skills, you have a better understanding of how to use your knowledge and your skills to manage your resources.
Chandni talks about the reach of Aflatoun's social and financial education.
So, social and financial education is a comprehensive form of learning that goes beyond traditional and academic subjects. It focuses on equipping individuals with practical knowledge, skills related to money management, budget, saving, investing. We are trying to help children and youth understand the broader societal impacts of the financial decision.
Aflatoun develops research with the evidence they collect from their wide implementation of social and financial education programs. I ask what the research says about the need to develop social and financial education during the school years.
That is a key question, and it's actually the core part of our work with Aflatoun. People assume that you are learning certain skills during your school life, and that magically when you turn 18 or 21, you are going to know how to interact with the world. The reality is that when we are growing, not necessarily we are learning the right skills, and even more, we don't have the space to practice these skills. So the importance of learn social and financial skills, to have the right knowledge, and especially the adequate behaviors, is that you are building that. So when you grow up, you find your first job, you are going to ready to take the right decisions and build your future. So for us, it's quite important, and as well because there is a transversal effect. When you are working in this dimension, as you know, the education is a holistic process, and when you work in a transversal way, you can enhance the other aspects of your life. So this is not an isolated knowledge, it's something that enhances the other aspects of your life.
Cristina mentions both knowledge and behavior, so I asked her for more on that.
We are working in different levels. We are talking not just about knowledge or attitudes or skills, but about the behavior.
I asked Cristina for an example of how knowledge or skills and behaviors can be developed.
Savings, for example, is one of the elements that most of the people can recognize when we are talking about financial education. But saving is not just about to somehow accumulate money. The savings, we are talking about how you manage all your resources, including the financial means, of course, but as well, for example, electricity, water, how you are using your own clothes, if you are giving a second chance, etc. So when we are talking about savings for the kids, that means that you have the right information, you know what is the approach that you want to take, how to use this knowledge, and as well how you are going to use it in daily life. That means what is your lifestyle? And then we are talking about behaviors. You are asking as well about examples of good behaviors. For example, that you know how to manage the resources that you have, and that you know what are your needs and your wants. When you have a clarity about that, and that you restrain yourself, basically you postpone your gratification to use these resources later for another purpose, you are already changing your behavior.
Aflatoun always pairs the social and financial together when they talk about their education mission. So I ask about this connection.
One of the things that is clear in the programs is as well how do you set your goals. That is one of the important parts of our combination of social and financial skills. Because if you don't understand your resources and you don't have a clarity for the purpose, you are not going to actually go beyond of that. So if you have a clear goal and a specific activity that you want to use that resources, it's going to make sense about the process. And that is another part of the behavior that is as well, you have to regularly save money, for example. We know that most of the banks offer this option that you can do a monthly saving. Some experts recommend 10% of your income. But when we are talking about the most vulnerable ones, you can make the most with your resources. That means that not every month you are going to be able to save, but somehow you are going to use your resources in a good way. So, for example, you can be very creative and use, reuse, save, and protect these resources in different ways.
Aflatoun's approach connects the development of knowledge and behaviors with young people's role as citizens and their place in the world. I will hear from Aura from El Salvador soon, who talks about how her students learn these skills and behaviors. But for now, I pass the mic to Chandni to talk about Aflatoun's programs and the role of schools and teachers.
So, any program which is maybe related to life skill, these programs are now being taken up at a very faster pace depending upon the context. So whenever you talk about a social or financial or life skill program, it is very much relevant to all the context. So I would just share my experience. Whenever we go, let's start with the school, how you go. We first start explaining the concept to the teachers and the head principal. Because if you do not have the buy-in of the teachers and the stakeholders and the principal and the community, your programs might fail. You first start with explaining what is the benefit of the program. Them and the teachers take it to the students. You can support the teachers on site or you can support them off site through arranging resources, arranging workshops, because it might not be feasible budgetary wise also to reach all the teachers, work with all the teachers on site. And if you want to scale a program, then we also have to consider the monetary thing, the time, resources. We also talk about the practical application of this. It is not just related to practical application within a school setup, but how these skills could be applied in their real life. Let's say Cristina was talking about saving, how they can save money. Now, people would think, what if you're working in a rural setup where people do not have sufficiently to eat? So when we talk about saving, it's not just that we are talking about saving in terms of money. We also talk about saving in terms of saving the food, saving the resources, saving your environment. So it's a broader concept. So it is not just a skill. It basically becomes your religion, your lifestyle. So when you go to a shop, you already have let's say a disposable bag or a cloth bag, and you would rethink, no, I don't need this plastic bag.
I asked Chandni about the role of teachers in these programs.
The teacher is just a facilitator and students build their own learning. We believe in the constructive approach, and we have lot of avenues in the session plan where children construct their knowledge, deduce the knowledge. We ensure that children or teachers get due experience of the topic so that they're able to take the topic either to students or in their personal life or wherever they want. And we also talk about the long term impacts. You don't see impacts within a year or two, it's a longer thing that you see over years building up. Our program is very modular and you can customize it the way you want. But we also have to keep in mind the objectives. So let's say if our objective is to focus more on letting the individual focus on himself or herself, then we take that piece. But if you feel no, in my society, in my community, in my school, or in my region, we need focus on, let's say, rights. So we focus more on that.
To understand how teachers work with this program, let's travel to Central America, to El Salvador. Due to the conflicts in El Salvador, a significant portion of its population has migrated abroad. Those who have stayed behind often rely heavily on remittance from Salvadorians residing in other countries, particularly the USA. The impact of this dependence on the collective consciousness in the long run can be harmful for social and economic development. Education is key. Aura welcomes us in her school in San Salvador, the capital. The weather is humid and hot.
This is a very urban location. I'm in one of the busiest parts of the city, actually. The building we're in, it's just in front of a main street. It's really busy, really busy street. But inside the building, it's a different atmosphere. So it's more like homey inside. We do have air conditioning because we do need to have closed doors and closed windows because we couldn't teach. Otherwise, it's really noisy outside. My classroom is actually very colorful. We have around 29 students.
Aura teaches English as a second language and is also developing social and financial education in an alternative school that offers teenagers education that fills learning gaps that school does not cover. I asked how she became interested in social and financial education.
They started training us, and it was actually a very cool thing when they showed us this topic. Personally, I didn't know much about it, so I started learning. And when I realized how important that was for myself, but also for the kids that we have, for the kids that we work with, it actually changed a lot. It changed the perspective that I have as a teacher, and also it changed the way that I see them and the way that we plan. Financial education for them is really important. Our kids come from different backgrounds. Most of them, they come from really low income homes. I still teach English, but we try to put that type of content inside to make it like a transversal thing within the program.
Aura tells me that she has a close relationship with her students, which is important in order to challenge their behaviors around money without making them feel uncomfortable.
Every time that they tell me, oh, I saw the new whatever phone. Oh, I want to buy a donut for lunch. Do you need it or do you want it? We give you lunch. Lunch is there. Do you really need to buy that? And they go like, no, really, I actually have to save this because I have to do something else. Okay. So just to be able to do that and create that awareness, like step by step, I think it helps. And now it's like an intrinsic thing within the program.
Aura tells me about the different kinds of learning outcomes that they aim for when implementing the social and financial education program with students aged 13 to 18, from saving, planning to entrepreneurial skills.
To be able to learn everything, they need to know how to handle business and how to be financially able to take on some challenges. It's important. We do work that with the older students. With the younger ones, they're 13, so we try to also teach them the very basic things. So it's like between 13, 18, 19, that with the older students, because we have a Saturday program where the older students come and we do that. And they don't receive that at their schools. So when they come and they see this information, it's kind of cool because it's like, oh my God, now I know that this is not how this is supposed to be. Or, oh, so I do have to have a plan in order to do this.
Aura talks about their programs involving parents, which helps to build young people's understanding of their social and financial situations, their challenges, and what they need to improve their lives.
So we did this workshop with the parents and the students, where we got them together. For most of them, it was the first time that they actually discussed home financing. The kids didn't know how much the parents earn. Most of them, they have informal jobs. They sell different things either on the streets or on the market. Most of them don't have like a formal job where they do receive a monthly salary. So kids were not aware of how much the income was. And once we sat them together and they started, okay, so we pay this for electricity, this for water, like all of the bills that they have to pay, and this is what we have for food, and then this is what we have left if there was anything left. So the kids were really impacted with that. It actually changed the way that they saw money. From that, many things came, like from the student point of view. What can I do in order to help at home? What can I do to either save, to help my parents save, or what can I do in order to help them have something extra? So that type of activity created that awareness. And now some took it very seriously. Some others were still like, I still don't know if this is going to work. The majority, they did that. And it was a very good experience. It actually came and told us, because we were a group doing that, we don't know how we survive with this money. I don't know how my parents do it. From that, they actually made plans to go to the university. So they started making these plans, these financial plans with this goal in mind. Okay, so I need to save this amount in the next 2.5 years. What are my steps? And they already have a very well-developed plan to do that.
I like to ask teachers about a teaching experience or moment that was particularly rewarding for them and their students. I asked Aura to tell me about an example that illustrates the impact of her social and financial teaching, both for her students and for her own professional motivation and engagement.
A student that graduated last year, he had a particularly rough year. Since the pandemic, his household became, I don't know, it was messy. He was very outgoing and he was also very caring. During the pandemic, his mom had a baby and the baby was the light for him. And he came and sat with me and said, I don't want my baby sister to go through the hardship that I went through when I was a little boy. I want my little sister to have a really, really, really good future. So this is my plan. And he actually sat with a plan. He started selling peanuts, different sort of peanuts, like, I don't know, sugar peanuts or cover and whatever, chocolate peanuts. He said, my plan is to start saving for her with little peanuts, for the peanuts. So he bought the first bag and it went good. So he was able, with that money, he was able to invest it and he bought like 3 more bags. So he started like a distribution thing from one little bag and from that idea. And he told me that at the beginning of the year, almost at the end of the year, around this time, we sat and he told me, I want to tell you something. Do you remember what I told at the beginning of the year? Yes. So right now, this is everything that I have done. He actually had everything on a notebook. And I remember his little notebook. And he actually had, it was like pages after pages. So on this day, I bought this and this is what I invested. And this is what I got from that. And from this, I was able to invest more. By that time, I think he just turned 18 or he was about to turn 18. I don't remember. And he said, so I'm going to be able to open a bank account and everything that I've saved, I'm going to put it into the bank account. So this is going to be a real thing. I didn't cry because I couldn't cry in front of him, but it was such an amazing thing. And he was like, I could have never done this without the help that I got here and everything that you taught me, because we have been developing the little steps that we teach him. Okay, so you can do this step by step. And he said, you know what? I didn't believe that I could do it, but I actually can. And that was last year. I saw him around 2 months ago and he told me the bank account is open and it already has something in there. And I asked him, so it's still a thing, that the nuts and that, yes, I'm still selling them. And right now he's studying in the university and he's still doing That's so he's still with his business and he's still saving that. That's like one of the greatest experiences that I've lived because I saw the entire process. And if you could see the joy in his face, I mean, I don't know how to describe that, but he was so happy and so proud. And he was like, I did it and I'm still doing it.
I am grateful to Aura for her heartwarming story. It shows the impact that developing useful skills and healthy behaviors around resource management can have in the lives of young people in the long term. We now leave Aura in El Salvador to travel the long distance to Asia. We arrive in Sri Lanka, where Indunis is waiting for us in the government school where she teaches.
I'm from Central Province, Kandy, a very lovely, greeny place, and it is a very sacred place in historical wise. And I'm teaching at a girls' college, an urban school. As a government school teacher, we have more than 3,000 students in our school. In my class, there are 44 students. I'm the grade coordinator of grade 7 students. I'm working with children from age 8 to 18. That means primary, secondary, and the advanced level students. When I look through my window, I can see a lot of buildings, and the IT lab I can see students engage in different activities.
Like Aura, Induni teaches English as a second language and social and financial education. I ask about Induni's motivation for teaching social and financial skills and behaviors.
In Sri Lankan government education system, we don't pay much attention to this subject, finance literacy and entrepreneurship. I feel in the country there is a need for education on this matter since we are undergoing a very crucial financial crisis. Many children are seeking government jobs, so they are waiting till somebody else's provide a job opportunity with a handsome salary, but they haven't focused on how to earn by themselves and be a entrepreneur to the society. So this is a new idea concept for our school children.
In some countries, social and financial education is part of the official curriculum, but in many places, like Sri Lanka, it is not. I want to know how Induni develops her teaching.
This financial education program is conducted as an extracurricular activity, we call it. Aflatoun Club dealing with social and financial literacy. There are 5 core elements within this curricula we discuss. They are personal understanding, savings, budgeting, social and financial enterprises, and child rights. Now, if you look at these 5 core elements, you will understand that it is really covering all the skills and competencies of a better citizen. Here we talk about the responsibilities under the rights, and then we are talking about saving and spending, how to save money and spend money. At the same time, not only money, we teach them to save resources and time and many more things, nature, everything. So by learning this, they become very responsible citizens. So there are so many very well planned and well designed, and with all the materials provided. So it is very easy to conduct the lessons. We carry out different projects according to students' wish. When the students suggest anything, for instance, very recently we had talent show.
Induni gives an example of the kind of projects her students develop as part of the social and financial learning club she leads.
They said that now they were talking about their different talents and capabilities. When I suggest how you are going to showcase your talent, then they said we can have a concert and different competitions. The students wanted to showcase their talents. There is a theme, personal understanding and exploration. So that is what we expect now. No need of being an entrepreneur at the very beginning, but you are the ones who plan the items, select the items, and practice them. Everything was done by children. I was there just to facilitate them whenever necessary. Some were good at dancing, some were good at singing. They themselves understood it. So he or she can do higher studies on that. Think of a girl that who understood that she's good at dancing, then she can improve her dancing, and finally she can become either a dancing instructor or a teacher, or with that she can start her own dancing academy, and in the future she would be able to provide job opportunities. So this is the very beginning of her entrepreneurial life. At the same time, there was a one girl whose father is a businessman. That man used to buy vegetables from the farmers and sell it to the market. He's like an intermediate one. So this girl also used to bring certain fruits and vegetables to school and sell them among the friends and the staff. So she said that she's going to buy the books and the necessary things for her education with the money that she collects. So this is an entrepreneurial mindset which we can develop now. Later for her, when she goes for higher education also, she would be doing the same thing, and she will earn money for her higher studies, as well as she would support her family. So that is what we expect now. No need of being an entrepreneur at the very beginning. And the girl who sells vegetables and fruits is also in grade 8. That means she is 13 years old. So they are at a very tender age. That is why it is very important.
I asked Induni what feedback she receives from students, colleagues, and parents, as I believe that new learning programs work best when embraced by the full learning community, starting with the children themselves.
Most of these activities are done as games, so they enjoy it, and they love this. My club is very popular in my school. Whenever somebody says Aflatoun club, they say, that is a very nice club. Very recently we conducted a huge youth forum with the participation of more than 300 students around Asia. 8 Asian countries participated for this youth forum. So our students were the facilitators. They conducted different activities, and now they are asking, when are we going to have the next program? I have many positive reactions, and always, other than my colleagues, I have a good recognition among them because of this program. Parents are also very interested. They also thank me for introducing this kind of activity.
As we come to the end of this episode, I would like to share my reflections. A holistic education that includes financial skills and social behaviors can make young people more aware of resources and foster creativity about managing money and regenerating resources. Also, research developed by organizations like Aflatoun or the Mastercard Foundation show that a lack of financial understanding can keep entire communities, even generationally, from reaching their full potential. A healthy management of resources for ourselves, our communities, and the planet is something that can be learned from very young age and in every context and geography, as Chandni highlights.
I have worked with children as well as I have worked with the trainers. Presently, I am working on a project which is in India, and I work with teachers who are working with government school, and they have limited resources, and they are also bounded and surrounded by bureaucracy, policies, but something which keeps them going on is their motivation and the benefits what they see with these kind of education, which is separate from just the core subjects.
As the teachers who share their experiences with me always illustrate, teacher motivation is fundamental to instill the knowledge and behaviors we need for a more equitable world. Iduni, a very motivated educator, calls for other teachers to recognize the importance of social and financial education.
So I would like to invite all the teachers try to implement this program with their children as well and see the results of it. You will be actually delighted like me with the results. These children are very good in studies as well because they have a target. They become very responsible citizens automatically. And they respect each other since they have a very good rapport among their friends with these activities. They look after each other. So I think this is a very good program in social financial education that is not only focused on money, it focused on the whole improvement of the people.
Actually didn't realize how important this was, or I was not so conscious. I never thought so much and with this level of detail, and even imagine the children or students thinking about these issues and how relevant it is during school education and how it permeates the other areas of learning. I think that if you have social and financial education during the learning of other subjects, particularly during secondary school, but I think even before, like at the end of primary, I think it is key. And I now realize that there's many, many ways in which you can embed social and financial teaching of skills and behaviors while teaching other subjects like even maths or social sciences and many other issues, because that connects you to reality. Because at the end of the day, we all have to live with money, to deal with resources. So for me, I think it was also groundbreaking in the sense of connecting the different aspects, not just saving. For instance, I think it was Cristina who mentions it's not just saving of resources and saving the things that you have left. Some people don't have anything left, but it's just about being creative, also about how you use the things that you have, and also about resources, even in terms of ecological impact of the use of resources. So she's mentioning, how can you be creative by using clothes or paper and other things? So it's a very nice way to look at also our environmental impact in the world, things like that. So I think for me, it was very eye-opening in the sense that it connects to so many levels of our lives. So I think it's really, really important to talk about these issues during school education and regardless on the social or economic background of the students. I hope you have enjoyed this episode of Teachers' Voices. You can find the links to Aflatoun's programs and more information about the guests in the show notes. The more we hear about other educators' ideas and experiences, the more we make this podcast a truly collaborative experience. So please comment at the end of the episode on vault.expert. Drop a review or rate us in your favorite podcast platforms and engage with us on social media. You also have a WhatsApp community that you can join. See the link in the show notes. Thanks for listening to Teachers' Voices.